Hello, friends. I'm outside. I'm outside. I hope that this microphone is picking up my voice more than it is. I mean, it's not that loud actually. But yeah, hello, friends. My name is Eliah. Welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been here before. I I've been writing so much in the last couple of days, and I yeah, just I feel like things just have been flowing a lot, and I feel like there's been gosh, I'm not I'm not used to doing this outside. That's kind of weird. Yeah, distractions, people walking by. I feel awkward. That's okay. But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying that I've been writing a lot in the past couple of days, and I I don't usually script my videos. I've been introducing more mix of just stream of consciousness and poetry, and yeah, I don't know why I'm rambling on. I should probably just start reading to you because I don't know, I'm trying something. So, you know what? I'm just gonna start by sharing a bit about my day or my week to ground me in the here and now. Maybe I'm just gonna share a bit where I am. I'm by the Danube. You might be able to tell. So it's like a bit, it's not usually this green, but it's been raining quite a bit. So there's lots of just mud and debris, like dissolve in the water, I guess. I don't know, why am I? Yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about heartbreak, both as a more collective experience or heartbreak at the state of the world, at what's happening in Palestine, at how people are starving to death in Gaza right now. And it's really hard to wrap my head around all of the pain, all of the violence, all of the like the cruelty and the dehumanization. And it's such a hard thing to be with. It's like, how do we be with that? How do we be with those horrors? I don't know. I I think I'm just trying as everybody else is, or maybe not everybody, but everybody who's kind of tuned into their own humanity, enough connected to their own humanity and to the way that we are all interconnected with one another. Like, we're connected to each other as humans, we're connected to all the life around us, we're connected to the earth, to the wind, to the water, to the plants. Like, we are off this earth, we are part of nature, of everything else around us, and there's no me without you. There's no me without trees. There's no you without water. We all just, and like so much of what, like the world that we navigate each day, it is here because we are here. Like the way that it looks, and I don't know, I'm rambling, but I think maybe that's how we, that's part of how we be with it, or how I try to be with it, is by trying to just ground myself in the knowing that we're part of everything, and that like that we're as much part of nature as anything else. And when I look around me, like the land that I'm on, it does a thing with time, right? It grounds you in time and place in a different way. It allows us to zoom out a little bit, and sometimes that helps. I'm yeah. I don't know. It's okay. I don't have to know. I can just breathe. And I can interrupt myself at any point. I don't have to try and perform some sort of, I don't know, like continuity and surety and consistency that when I'm not feeling it, when I feel like my thoughts aren't connecting, or when I'm losing my train of thought, I don't have to perform that I'm not losing my train. I don't have to pretend, because who is that benefiting? Like, if I just, like sometimes you start out with a clear idea and then you start talking and you kind of lose the idea or the clarity. I just felt a drop of rain. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be sitting here. But yeah, and then you lose kind of your surety or your argument, but you keep talking anyway. And maybe sometimes the stuff that comes out turns out to be what you wanted to say, but a lot of the time it's just rambling, and maybe I would have gotten to the point sooner if I just took a breath and just took a beat, and allowed myself to be with the confusion and the not knowing of how to go on, and not knowing whether what I thought or believed at the beginning of the sentence is still what I believe. So yeah, it's a weird time. I mean, I don't know if it's ever been a less weird time to be a human in like this paradigm, but it is a very weird time to be a human these days. Yeah, so I started talking about how I've been thinking a lot about heartbreak, and like both as it relates to what's happening in the world. I know that it's not just Palestine, but it is like it's it it is Congo, it is Sudan, it is so many indigenous peoples and other like marginalized folk under this colonial white supremacist paradigm that are like none of us are like actually okay under this. This is not a life supporting paradigm. This is a life threatening way of existing. This is not a sustainable way of being. We're messing up our planet, our like living environment, our habitat. We're killing other species. We're killing people. We're killing children. For what? For what? Literally, we live in this fantasy, in this sick fantasy of a few people who think that by hoarding the most amount of wealth and power and resources that somehow they can escape death, that somehow they don't have to face the inevitable decay of their material vessel or anything else. Like you're just as much you're decaying as you go, just like everything else. You're not special. Like, and we're so deep in this shit, but at the same time I also feel like we've never been closer to ripping it apart. Like, it's like this weird fantasy and just illusion that we're living in. Not illusion in the sense that it's not real, because it's very much manifesting as very real. People are dying, the planet is dying, people are suffering and hurting each other, and like just have completely lost their connection to the world around them, to their humanity, to I don't know. So I'm talking both about that kind of heartbreak, but also the more personal, which is all connected, because like our wounding, our childhood wounds, our trauma patterns, they're not disconnected from the larger structures that we're living in and that are creating this world where there's so much suffering and so much hurt and so much hopelessness, or I don't know. So yeah, I'm thinking a lot about that, and as it so often happens to be in my case, at least, I feel like these two levels of heartbreak, I feel like I'm usually confronted with them at the same time. Like, for example, I don't know, last week, I don't know what the fuck what that was, but like actually started at the end of the week before last week. So I was having I was having an experience. I was having a moment because I because of a someone that I was getting to know, and because and like it and then like we had a moment and it brought up some stuff, and I don't know, I'm just, you know, just I talked about that a little bit in my last two videos, I think. So if you want to hear more about those feelings, you'll go check those out. But yeah, so that was happening, and I was feeling very dysregulated and very much kind of stuck in some, or like thrown into some survival mechanisms and patterns. And then I also, for the first time in like a couple of weeks, I guess, I really let myself, or really like properly like engaged with what was happening in Palestine, because I feel like, I don't know, I've just, sometimes I just don't know how, and I'm ashamed of that. I'm ashamed of not, like, there's a part of me that is deeply, deeply ashamed and feels a lot of guilt about me existing, or like doing anything other than thinking about Palestine, because it's so urgent, because it's so horrible, and also it's all so connected, all of the suffering and pain and death and loss, that's that like so many indigenous peoples, and the people of Congo, people of Sudan, like it's all connected, and I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to necessarily, I'm noticing myself spiraling a little bit. But yeah, I've been having, I don't know, sometimes it's just too hard to hold, and I feel like there's so much noise, there's so much, or like, I don't even know if it's just noise, it's just a lot of voices, a lot of opinions, a lot of shoulds and have tos, and just agony. And like, I get it, and like, and urgency, and like, I don't know, it's just very confusing. And then I know that I'm not special in this, because that stuff, like stuff like that happens, that like there are more personal reasons, maybe also why it is hard to do the things that you want to do. Like, for example, like I'm having a hard time, like I like in kind of engaging with Palestine, and having very big emotional responses, and just it kind of starting something that was just like triggering me on so many levels. I started thinking about it, and maybe even, I don't know, growing some compassion for the ways in which I am having a hard time showing up in solidarity with the people of Gaza in the way that I might think necessary or important, and would like to be a part of. And then there's the other part that I don't sometimes, that it's hard to know what that even looks like, because I am so, because it, like, one of my wounds is, or like, and again, I'm not special in that, I'm just talking about my own experience. But yeah, one of my wounds or beliefs or whatever is to do with being good, is this idea that I have to be good, and like, and that I don't know, I think I wrote about this in what I want to read to you. So maybe I am just going to read what I wrote, and we'll see from there. Believing in love, believing in the good, and in the arc of time and creation, bending towards justice and liberation, means that the world will continue to break our hearts, to break us open in the face of injustice, in the face of merciless extraction and exploitation and annihilation of any life standing in the way of the colonial white supremacist fantasy of limitless wealth and power, a world that teaches us we're only safe if we follow the rules. Rules based on fear, control, and scarcity rather than gratitude, abundance, and reciprocity. Our capacity for heartbreak is a symbol of resistance and a manifestation of our humanity. Let the pain and suffering of the earth and its people break you open. May you fall to your knees and weep at the loss of life and dignity, Palestinian children being starved to death after surviving bomb attacks, at the people who were so disconnected from their own humanity that they proudly send their children out as soldiers to destroy someone else's. Let this break you open. Allow your heart to break. Allow your heart to break and expand. The heart is a muscle. Use it, move it, find the edge of comfortability. Let it grow and expand its capacity. Don't forget to rest. Like when training or going to the gym, if you want your muscles to grow and to be able to do more, hold more, stand more pressure, there will be pain. Clean pain, growing pain, the hurt of shedding old skin, and still tender new one underneath. Let yourself rest and recuperate. Liberation is hard work, is heart work, is how we heal. This is how we get free. Hello, friends. We're back inside and blessed with a little cameo of Willy. So we're back inside because it got cold and I had to pee, and also I didn't have all of the things with me that I needed to finish this video. So I actually wrote my bachelor's thesis on this topic, on this idea, how basically that we need to feel our feelings, like if we want liberation. And I wrote that in the context of social work because that's what I was studying, but it applies, I mean, I guess maybe it applies to social work specifically because of because of what the profession deems itself to be. But yeah, I don't know if the social work aspect is that interesting to anyone here. But I felt like a good kind of ending to this video, because I feel like I was kind of all over the place, but that's kind of on brand. So, but yeah, I felt like to round up sort of what I was talking about, or to maybe draw it together a little bit, I could read you a poem slash kind of how I presented my BA thesis. So I wrote my BA thesis in social work on embodiment and decolonization and how that relates to the liberatory potential of social work. And the title of my thesis was called I Feel, Therefore I Can Be Free. And I'm very proud of my thesis. It was a very hard process, but it gave me a chance to spend a lot of time with ideas that I find extremely important and helpful to explore and engage with. And yeah, and it gave me an even better understanding of something that I was already kind of understanding, and I'm now better able to explain it to people, or to talk to people about it, and also, I don't know. But yeah, I published a different version of this poem a while ago, or like a month or two ago. But when I was preparing for my thesis defense, thesis presentation, final exam situation, I was having a hard time because I didn't know how to, like, it was already so hard for me to kind of smush all of the things that I wanted to say. And I didn't manage to, but like to smush the core of this idea that I wanted to communicate into 25 pages of academic writing. And it was inconceivable to me how I could try and present that in like 7 minutes to an audience of people who has not read my thesis. So it was actually, I think, something that clicked during or after my first fieldwork group session. I've talked about fieldwork before. It's this book that Leah Manaima Aveen wrote, and it's a book about like
the collective recovery from colonial fragmentation disorder, something that Leah coined. And it is not available for print, but it is read and kind of explored together in group sessions via Zoom. Like each chapter is kind of discussed and engaged with in one session, and it's just, I have so much love, so much appreciation, so much gratitude, so much awe for Leah's work and for all the people in this group, in my group with me. And yeah, but what I wanted to say was that, so yeah, you should really go check it out. There's, I don't know if there's still gonna be places left over at the time that this video comes out, but I think last week Leah sent out an email with the next round of fieldwork groups that are gonna start at the end of August, mid-August or something. After that first session, something clicked for me, because Leah said something about finding ways to like speak in poetry, or like something about poetry and saying the most in the least amount of time or something like that. And that kind of stewed in me like a little more. And then a couple hours later, I decided or realized that I wanted to present my thesis in the form of a poem. And that's what I did. Not just in a poem, but like a large chunk of the 7 minutes that I had to present. And as I said, I actually already posted or published a version of this poem on YouTube before, but I changed it a bit. And I would like to read it to you. And if I feel inspired, I might actually just do the whole presentation, and then you have like a little presentation of my thesis. And if you want to read it, you can message me and I will send it to you. Yeah. Okay. How do I know whether I'm running from or towards? Am I being pulled by fear or curiosity? I open my journal intending to investigate my feelings, but end up writing to-do lists and business plans. Do I feel excited or stressed? Am I doing this because I want to, or because I've been taught to want to fit a certain mold of productivity that ultimately determines my worth as a human being in colonial capitalism? How do we heal the trauma of white supremacy when the trap of modernity has turned a Western wound into a global reality? How do I stop the instinct to shrink when I can't stand the idea of causing harm? There is already so much pain in the world. Shouldn't we at least try to produce as little as possible? But then again, how do we create change without having an impact? How do I know how much to add? I don't like cooking from recipes, but I wouldn't mind some instructions so I don't set my kitchen on fire trying to make the world a little sweeter. Who do these teachings belong to? Who gets to share stories and remedies and knowledges that barely survived the past centuries? How do we trust when it keeps being broken? How do we love when we've been nursed with fear and control in place of abundance and gratitude? What is a promise without faith? What is justice without peace? How do we build culture and communities of care without connection to the where we come from and who we are? How do we embrace our humanity without facing all parts of our history? How can we be whole again while ignoring all this suffering? How do we process all this grief without the knowing that all flourishing is mutual? Without the dances, prayers, and ceremonies that humans have shared in since time immemorial? Everybody has a shadow that changes with the light. Nothing ever stays the same as long as it's alive. So maybe we don't have to run, not from or towards. Instead, we could just watch the sun and learn a thing or two from trees and ground down deep into the earth and listen to it breathe. The water is our first reflection, and like the phases of the moon, shifts shapes but never leaves. A symbol of divine protection, life, death, and interconnection between everything there is and was and still to be. I have learned there are no guarantees in life. No manual, no recipe, or keyboard shortcut to spell us free. The magic of the universe doesn't run on certainty, but on cycles of reciprocity. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. To quote Prentice Hemphill in What It Takes to Heal, somewhere along the way we were taught to stop feeling instead of being taught to stop what harms us. As though the feeling were our enemy, as though the feeling were hurting us. To move forward and address the harm, we have to feel. As Audre Lorde said in her essay, poetry is not a luxury. The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The black mother within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. Yeah, so that was one part of how I presented my thesis. I don't think I'm gonna go into the rest of my presentation for you, but I feel like this is the theme of all of my videos. This idea of, or this, I don't know, kind of a, almost like a politics, a radical and liberatory politics of heartbreak. And that sometimes that's the most liberating and most powerful thing that we can do in response to a world that bombards us and overwhelms us with so much grief and suffering that a lot of us kind of opt out of feeling it in the first place because it feels too overwhelming. So our systems kind of protect us from the pain by cutting us off from feeling, from our humanity, which is, and that like the being cut off from feeling is what this system thrives off. This is what oppressive systems, what colonialism, what white supremacy, what fascism thrives off. It thrives of us not caring about each other. It thrives of us turning against each other and being disconnected from our humanity, from our inherent interconnectedness. That's why the lie of individualism is so important to keep up. That why I don't know. I do have to make a point in this video because I don't want it to get too long. Maybe I'll just do some sort of a part 2 on this one because I feel like it all kind of connects even more so than usual because I wrote it all in the same, or like, I don't know. Yeah, I think I have the next video that I've planned. There's one where I want to talk more about kind of like my relationship to God and how like my spirituality is inherently connected to my understanding of liberation and my journey, my experience of decolonizing my heart, my mind, my body, my spirit, how that is connected to kind of like developing a relationship with God again, as someone who would have like been very clear about being an atheist just a couple of years ago. But yeah, so that's a video that I'm in the process of making that's going to come out. And then I've been thinking a lot about how or where, like what I want to do more of on this channel, and how, I don't know, really trying to find kind of my mode of operating, my like how I want to do things, something what feels the most me. yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and that if you enjoyed the video, that you're gonna leave me a like and maybe even subscribe to my channel, and join me for the next ones, because they do feel like very connected to this one, or almost like a, yeah, just sequel or continue. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what we're doing on this. Everything just feels like a continuous, like an ongoing conversation. And I'm really excited, and I really want to take myself more seriously in this. I feel like I've been kind of testing the waters for the first half of the year, and being kind of very shy about it, or even almost like a little embarrassed that I was making these videos. But I think that's kind of old and boring, like being embarrassed of putting myself out there, and like that's so 2024, 2023, whatever. We're not doing cringe anymore. We care. We like, right? We care. We make the things we want to make. We are being authentic. We're not letting the system scare us into thinking that what we have to say is not important, and that it doesn't matter what we do and what we say, and that we don't actually have any power, because we do. Maybe sometimes that's even a bit scary, the idea that we might actually have more power than we thought we did. And that might have been part of why I felt like I wasn't giving this my all in terms of, I mean, I was also still writing my BA thesis and stuff, and just other life things, but still, I feel like I want to be less apologetic. I don't want to, I'm so sick of apologizing for my existence and making myself small, and like, who's benefiting from me making myself small? Not me, not the people who love me, but the system. The system is benefiting from me making myself feel small, from us thinking that we're powerless, right? I'm gonna stop talking now, but yeah, what I wanted to say was, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of these videos, and leave me a comment if you feel so inspired. I want this to be a conversation, and as far as I understand, engagement helps with the algorithm. So I really appreciate it if you enjoyed watching this, if you left me a comment and a like and a subscribe, because that really helps me out and helps me grow and helps me put even more into this. I feel like, yeah, this feels awkward. But yeah, I don't know. I really want to do this. I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And like, there's so much more that I have to say and that I want to make and bring into the world. So I really appreciate anyone who's listening, and I hope that you are being safe. I hope that you're giving yourself some rest and cutting yourself some slack, and just maybe being also curious about what you're feeling and where that's coming from. And just, yeah, I invite you to engage with yourself and with the world around you with curiosity and openness, and with love. And yeah, drink some water, take some deep breaths, touch some grass or moss or whatever. Just take good care of yourself and each other, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.